Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to introduce Waddy Mitchell, after which we'll call it an evening. Waddy.
Kind of hard to get up here and figure out what you're going to do after everybody's talked so nice about Scott and Harris. I must say that I was taken back when a guy named Mitt Romney called me in about 2000 maybe it was. Anyway, he said he was going to put the Olympics on up in Salt Lake and wondered if I'd write a poem for him for the Olympics. And I said, sure. Then I hung up and thought to myself, I don't know a damn thing about the Olympics. Never had a TV, didn't ever watch them. And if I did watch them, it would be in the summertime when the boxing was on. Who the heck wants to go watch a bunch of guys ski? When you got to work in the snow all the time, to go play in it on the weekends doesn't seem so smart. But when I called him back, I found out, what he'd done is he sent a whole box of reading material for me about the Olympics. And after I read thousands of pages, what I really realized is it wasn't the sports figures we remembered out of the Olympics. It was the heroes. And that's what this night's about, is the heroes. While gathering cattle near the ruins of a long abandoned homestead in the shadows of the mountains, questions swarmed around my mind of the people who had claimed there, most forgotten now and long dead still. I wondered what had prompted them to leave their worlds behind, searching for a life uncertain in a vast and rugged region, up and leave their home and kin for opportunity to find. Taking little more to start with than an idea and a reason and the dream of their succeeding in some future yet defined. Soon these queries led to more. Like why it is that some folks always need to push their borders out beyond the furthest milestone on some never-ending quest to find new ways and trails to blaze, and in the process stretch that realm of what is built and done and known. From the little canyon up behind me, in comes my partner, throwing his bunch in with mine, shaded up now, settled down. I could see he'd gone through battle for his pony sport and lather, but his smile claimed he'd made it in with everything he'd found. The sweat and dust and brush streaks on that pair done heaps of speaking as he pulled up near, dismounted. Loosened Latigo a bit. He said, we jumped him in the roughs. Would have lost him had we weakened, but I swear this here caballo ain't got 1/2 ounce of quit. Then I spied my cow dog brushed up, staying well hid from the cattle, knowing with the cue they'd give all to do anything need done. And I thought then, how the most of us will opt to shun that battle, never knowing fully what we could accomplish or become. Still, I believe, like dogs and horses, we're all born with resolution, and like muscles and good habits, it needs use and exercise. If left dormant, it's in jeopardy of loss to evolution, for eventually it shrivels up in atrophy and dies. But when it's flexed, it blossoms heroes and a source of inspiration, for we all recognize the virtues in that no-quit attitude, and it proves its attributes in competition, in vocation, which evokes appreciation and a show of gratitude. And since mankind started walking, it's been swifter, higher, stronger, as if pushed by some deep need to keep their limits unconfined, almost thriving, always striving towards things bigger, better, longer, in some unrelenting pursuit of perfection redefined. And in this world of soft complacence, there are still those among the masses who will readily give all to see a job or dream fulfilled. It's a trait that's void of prejudice towards races, sex, or classes, just demanding its possessor be of valor and strong-willed. Then, as we start our cattle homeward, letting dogs bring up the rear, and we leave what's left of once somebody's hopes and dreams behind, I'm convinced that no-quit attitude will always persevere. And that's the essence and the promise and the crown of humankind. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. I think maybe I better leave you with one that's going to really uplift you. We was trotting home for dinner. Our day thus far had been a winter. We'd been turning out some pears on railroad lease. I was riding with old Jim, and if I was asked to describe him, I'd have to say he was a cowboy masterpiece. We stopped to let our horses blow when in a canyon down below we spied a neighbor fighting with a steer. The brute had sold and brushed up thick in some willows near the creek. A full-scale war had been declared, and that was clear. Now, I'd had cattle sold on me. It was obvious to see that a reconciliation wouldn't come, and from experience, I knew if he continued to pursue that fight, there'd be one of them hurt before it's done. Jim just rolled himself a smoke and snickered like it was a joke while we both sat and watched this feller fight his head. That cowboy cussed and frothed and yelped. I asked, suppose we should go and help, but old Jim then got philosophical and said, if he'd just let that brute calm down, then bring an old cow back around, that steer likely follow it to Oregon. I ain't saying it's wrong to fight if you've got to, and you're right. But before you do, it's good to know what side you're on. Like when we was maybe 6 and 9, me and my brother was inclined to get ourselves in trouble while we were trying to be good. Oh, it'd be our fault, sure enough, but it'd be innocent young kid stuff that would oftentimes just be misunderstood. Like one hot day, we'd gone to church. In a pew, we took a perch. It had been raining. The air was thick and wet, which made it hard to stay awake. It was about as much as we could take it with the snoring and the preaching and the sweat. The gal who sat in front of him and me had, perspired profusely. And when she rose, her clothes were clinging, so to speak. Adding to this situation, on closer examination, we saw her dress had lodged itself between her cheeks. It sure looked uncomfortable in there. We couldn't help ourselves but stare, and being just waist high, we really saw it good. Not being one to leave things be, my brother pulls the dress out free, alleviating the whole problem where she stood. Well, she turns quick. He just smiled, never dreaming she'd be riled, but instead of thanks, she hit him with her purse, which made my brother hit the ground. She turned around, and things was bad, but trying to help, I made it worse. See, I knowed something made her mad to hit my brother like she had, and I figured it must be the dress, confound it. So, using sweat marks for a guide, I turned my whole hand on his side and I slipped it right back in the way we found it. This time it was me that felt her wrath. which knocked my senses off their path. I carry purse scars with me to this day. I guess we got what we were doing. When we finally come to, I learned a lesson I'm going to share with you today. It ain't always smart to offer aid to situations you ain't made. History tells me not to fight a losing battle. It's like my daddy always said, son, sometimes best quit while you're ahead, because there ain't no figuring women or sold up cattle. Thank you.